everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Zuisoroku, or the extras added to the PS3 version, Stories of the Shinsengumi. Today we will be doing Hajime Saito's Memories of Love 2 and 3, provided that 2 isn't extremely long. So let's get started. Let's see where this one falls. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Memories of Love, Saito 2. January 1867. The protagonist wakes up shivering and goes outside to discover the world is completely covered in snow. She spots Saito out in the yard and strikes up a conversation with him. She suggests making a snow bunny, but... A snow bunny? I remember seeing a snow bunny in some anime, but I don't remember what it was. I think it was only once.
You are their objective. Do not make any sudden movements.
Yes, sir. I shall obey. As he spoke to me, his steel glare never left the men who'd claimed to be demons. The moon slipped behind a cloud, and they met with a clang. As the sound of their initial confrontation faded away, the night was silent. They had moved so fast, my eyes hadn't been able to follow. I remember thinking that it was strange that Saito seemed unsurprised that his opponent had successfully avoided his nearly instantaneous attack. Apparently he knew what he was dealing with. November 1864. Ito and his students joined the Shinsengumi on Heisuke's invitation. What a mistake that was. There was nothing wrong with the Shinsengumi growing, of course, but their arrival changed the atmosphere, and from time to time I found myself missing how things had been. The spirit of friendly companionship had disappeared. It wasn't only Ito. Sanan had drunk the water of life and become a fury. I didn't know that the former had influenced the latter's decision, but it seemed likely. As a result, the Shinsengumi moved their headquarters from the Yagi residence to the Nishihonwanji temple. To an outside observer, it would have appeared that we had returned to a normal routine. But many of the captains who had been with the Shinsengumi from the beginning didn't appreciate Kondo appointing Ito to such an important post over their heads. I bet. January 1867. Ito and his men had become their own separate faction of the Shinsengumi. Then, one snowy day in the middle of winter... Snow bunnies! Memories of Love, Part 2. January 1867. Do you want to build a snow bunny? Yeah, that was terrible. It's cold. I felt his icy fingers trying to work their way under my blanket the moment I woke up. My breath puffed out in white clouds, and the light streamed in my window and had an odd bright quality. Was it possible? Yep, it is. Oh, wow. I looked outside and gasped. A few flakes were still drifting down, but it had clearly snowed much harder during the night. The entire compound was white. I had thought it seemed colder than usual, and now I knew why. Huh? Amidst all the white, there was a column of black. A person. Was it... Saito! I hurried down the steps. My love! He turned slowly and looked at me.
Oh, good morning. You've awoken already.
So have you. What are you doing out here by yourself?
I was at the dojo for my morning workout. On my way back, I noticed the snow and stopped.
To admire it? He fell silent again and looked up at the sky, his face full of muted emotions I couldn't decipher. If you just finished training, aren't you, sweaty? I feel like you should dry off or you're going to get sick. I don't know, he might be so fit that he never sweats.
Shouldn't you be inside near the fire? They say that cold is the source of many illnesses.
He continued to stare at the falling snow and gave no indication that he meant to move. I glanced down at his hands. The cold had already turned his fingertips red, but he either hadn't noticed or didn't care. Do you like the snow? He didn't speak, but from the look on his face I could tell what his answer would be.
Snow is very powerful.
He looked up at the sky again, a faint smile pulling at his eyes. Oh, powerful. He looks really good against the snow.
It covers everything, beautiful or ugly, and makes it the same. I almost feel as though I could let it cover me and become more pure.
He looked and sounded as somber and serious as he always did, but there was a small satisfied smile on his face that I'd never seen before. Eventually, he turned to look at me.
Shouldn't you leave? You weren't dressed for the cold.
No, I think I'll stay here and look at the snow with you a little longer. He looked at me for a moment with an expression I couldn't read.
You are strange.
Look who's talking. He turned back around as the snow fell silently around us. He blinked and looked over at me.
Is something wrong? Do you wish to speak?
Stop saying I wasn't sure what to say. Do you wanna, play? I was just thinking that maybe you'd like to, play in the snow instead of just watching it? Let's have a snowball fight!
Play? What do you suggest?
Well, we could make a snowman or a fort or something. I guess a snowball fight wouldn't be very fun with just 2 people. His eyes widened.
A snowman and a snow fort. That sounds like something a child might say.
Really? Am I that childish?
I did not intend to be rude. Pay it no mind.
He turned around again, slightly more quickly, I thought, and looked at the snow.
In any event, I doubt there is even enough here to construct a snowman. It would likely have melted by afternoon.
That's okay, it's still fun to do. Oh, yeah. I felt a little smaller. He seemed to like the snow very much, but I felt like there had to be something I could do to make him happy. Just watch it with him, he's enjoying just looking at it. Of course. Oh, do you want to make a snow bunny?
What is a snow bunny?
His eyebrows pulled down almost imperceptibly. Oh, come on, don't tell me you don't know. Apparently he doesn't. When I was a kid, I'd make them for my dad every time it snowed.
I've never heard of them.
Then I'll make you one right now. Hold on.
You don't need to trouble yourself on my account.
Oh, don't worry. It'll only take me a second. As I spoke, I began to search the yard for berries to fashion into eyes and ears from. Saito didn't move and watched me silently as I trotted around in the snow. Let's see this snow bunny. For a moment, I felt like I was a child again, walking through the yard of my old home in the middle of the winter. Before long. All done. Here you go. Gently, I picked up the bunny and carried it over to him. Oh,
I see. This is a snow bunny.
He looks a little freaked out by it. He stared at the thing in my hands. Yes, isn't it cute? Here, I made it for you.
For me? What do you mean for me to do with it?
He was visibly confused, which for Saito was saying a lot. Oh, you don't like it? I swallowed and started to step back, but...
No.
He was silent for a moment, but then...
Your hands are cold. When you return to your room, make sure to warm them.
There we go, and now he's our expressions have changed. I'm the one that looks puzzled, and he's the one smiling. Oh, so that's what his, freaked out look was? Because of my pink fingers? Until he spoke, I hadn't realized that our hands were touching. I blushed. His long, slender fingers were cupped around my hands. Even through the stinging cold of the snow, I could feel a faint warmth from them. Huh?
Is something wrong? Your cheeks are red. Do you have frostbite?
No, that's not it. Can we just stay like this a few minutes longer? With his deep blue eyes looking into mine, I suddenly felt very shy and rushed to pull my hands away. Why? It was so enjoyable.
We should return. If you were to catch ill, Hijikata would be displeased with me.
Oh, right. How could that possibly be pinned on Saito? He looked down at the snow bunny I had unceremoniously deposited in his hands when I withdrew and smiled.
I am pleased to receive your snow bunny.
Oh, that sounds so cute.
Unfortunately, I fear it will melt soon.
That's the nature of snow bunnies. There was a hint of kindness in his normally flat tone. He inclined his head to me, then turned and walked toward the main temple. As I watched him go, I could still feel the warmth of his hands on mine. The snow bunny remained on Saito's windowsill until the snow melted. Nagakura and Heisuke saw it and laughed. Oh, come on, guys. Who knew, they said. Saito got so excited when it snowed that he made a snow bunny. I guess he was a kid once. Alright, well, on to Saito Memories of Love 3, wherever that is. There we go. Right after Okita Memories of Love 3. November 1867. 6 months have passed since Saito left with Ito. That's not going to be a happy one. Finally succumbing to stress, the protagonist takes ill and becomes bedridden. In the middle of a raging fever, she opens her eyes to find Saito in her room, despite the fact that he shouldn't be anywhere near the Shinsengumi. Did you come back just because I was sick? Or was this just him visiting from his spying? Aw, one of my favorite pictures in the game.
I believe in those things that do not change.
I thought that I saw just a hint of sadness somewhere deep in his eyes. I don't know what it was that Saito believed in, but there was something reassuring about his conviction. Perhaps everything would be all right. We might be separated by distance, but perhaps our hearts would remain connected. I asked to have the petal that had fallen into his hands. If he couldn't be nearby, then I wanted something to remind me of him that could. One single petal. April 1867. Ito and his men left the Shinsengumi to form the guardians of the imperial tomb. Heisuke and Saito went with them. I knew there was nothing I could do, but when I helped with dinner or accompanied the others on their rounds or washed the clothes, it seemed like every small thing reminded me that they were gone, and my heart ached. It was around this time that a demon named Kazuma attacked the headquarters several times, attempting to abduct me. I began to wonder if it was really best for me to remain with the Shinsengumi. Wasn't I putting them in danger by remaining? Soon, though, my head began to fill with darker thoughts. If Saito had remained, would things have been different? Would he have been willing to listen to my complaints? How would that make any difference? November 1867. Half a year had passed since Ito's departure. With 6 months to build, my anxiety had finally moved from the mental to the physical and given me a cold. Ah, boy. Memories of Love, Part 3. November 1867. I was cleaning up after lunch, and as I was putting away dishes, I collapsed.
Hey, you don't look so good. Are you sick?
What? No, I'm fine.
What are you talking about, Sano? She's always full of energy. No way she gets sick, right?
You're thinking of yourself. No self-respecting illness will get within spitting distance of an obnoxious idiot like you. She's not like that. We can finish cleaning up, Chizuru. You go back to your room and get some rest, okay?
Really, I'm okay. You're not fooling anyone, girl.
Harada's right. Looks like you got a fever. Chores are out of the question. Get back to your room and rest. Clear?
I certainly wasn't about to argue with Hijikata. Okay. I guess I'll let you finish up. I thanked them and scurried back to my room. Forced rest. This was an order. Normally, I rarely took ill, so I hoped my fever would go down quickly, but, well, I guess demons can catch colds, huh? Unfortunately, it did the opposite. Even lying down, I began to feel increasingly woozy. My father had always said that I was more resilient than most people. Surely a good long nap would cure it. One would think. But when the sun went down and night came, my fever still refused to break. I was alternatively shivering and sweating, and a dull headache throbbed inside my skull. After a while, I began to realize that I was thirsty. Then, perhaps because the fever was finally breaking, I began to feel nauseous. The worst part. But, I felt something cold touch my forehead. Had one of the warriors come to check on me? I opened my eyes and struggled to focus them on the person in front of me. It was my love. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's a good picture, too. There was no way he could be there. No way. Was I dreaming? Then it is a good dream. I was too feverish to be sure whether what I was seeing was reality or just an illusion. A part of me worried that if I spoke, the dream would shatter and he would disappear. But I had to know. Saito? He didn't respond. Instead, he glared down at me. What? Don't glare at me! What was happening? Are you mad at me for getting sick? I tried to climb up out of my bed, but...
Stop. Do you want to make yourself worse?
His voice was barely above a whisper, but I could hear steel in it. So I did as I was told and dropped my head back onto my pillow. Is that really you, Saito?
Who else would it be?
He lifted the now warm towel from my forehead and submerged it in a bucket of ice water and then carefully reapplied it. Oh, it's so sweet of him to nurse me back to health.
This fever is serious. You must have a bad cold.
Oh, I'm fine. I just need to sleep.
Didn't your master teach you not to overestimate your abilities?
What?
No matter how skilled you are, it takes only one mistake for you to lose to an opponent who is your inferior. The same applies to one's body.
Okay. I wasn't in any condition to argue, so I kept my mouth closed and pulled my blanket up a little higher. Silence hung in the chilly air. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't think of what or when. But there was something comforting about the silence, and I hadn't felt that way in a long while. I look over at Saito. I'm used to long, quiet moments with him.
What is it?
Let's see. Sorry for making you worry. I'm sorry for making you worry about me. Aw, I'm smiling for that.
You should tell the commander and the rest of the captains. And they're all worried about you.
Aw, everybody's so sweet on me. As he spoke, he picked the warm cloth off of my forehead. Quietly and carefully, he chilled it in the water, then put it back. Okay. He still put the feelings of others before his own. Whatever else might have changed, Saito hadn't. It felt as if things had gone back to the way they'd been. I think this is a dream after all. If only they could stay this way.
Why do you say that?
Because you left the Shinsengumi, but now you're in my room talking about how I should worry about Hijikata. That can't be real, so this has to be a dream. Suddenly, he looked very tired.
Don't remind him.
He opened his mouth as if to speak, then shut it again. It's a nice dream. I wish you would really come back, though.
Why? Would that make you happy? I don't follow.
Of course I'd be happy. I wanted to see you really bad. Aww. I smiled at him through my fever, but his face remained impassive. Oh, come on, be happy about that. Not that I would have expected a reaction from Saito. In a way, it made me happy. It was just the sort of thing he'd do, and it warmed my heart.
Try to move as little as possible, and make sure you rest. If your fever hasn't gone down by tomorrow, tell the commander or call a doctor.
Okay. But if I fall asleep now, I'll stop dreaming, and I'll miss you. For a moment, I thought I saw him blush. But then again, this was a dream. Maybe he did blush. No. After a moment, he reached out one of his hands.
Give me your hand.
Huh?
I'll hold your hand until you fall asleep. Perhaps that will help put your mind at ease.
Yes, please. Are you sure?
If you would rather not.
No, of course I do. I worked my weak, shaky hand out from under the blankets and took his. His skin felt cool and smooth, but strong, like very fine leather. Through the fever haze, I remembered the moment our hands had touched when I handed him the snow bunny I'd made. Your hand feels cool.
That's because yours is hot. You have quite a fever.
Sorry.
I wasn't scolding you. Everyone gets sick from time to time. You blame yourself too much.
I know, sorry. Even being admonished felt comforting and nostalgic. Aren't you worried I might give you my cold?
Morning will be here soon. I shouldn't catch it.
What sense does that make? I felt relieved, but also sad. Well, that's one that I never heard of. I mean, I know the whole thing about, idiots don't catch colds, but haven't heard something about not catching a cold if it's almost morning. After all, it was a dream. When I woke up, Saito would be gone.
Go to sleep. You're a doctor's daughter. You should know better than most that the best cure for a cold is rest.
Yeah. And so I shall. I let my eyes drift closed. My fever hadn't been pleasant, but at least it had given me a nice dream to remember. I only regretted that it had been just a dream. If only you knew! I woke the next morning to the sound of birds chirping. My fever seemed to have broken during the night, and although my body was exhausted, I was no longer ill. Hooray! I sat up slowly, and just as I'd expected, Saito was nowhere to be seen. Silently, I sighed. It had been just a dream. If only it could have lasted a little longer. Huh? Did he leave something? In the corner of my room was a bucket of water, just like the one I'd seen in my dream. Saito had used it to cool my towel. But that couldn't be right, could it? Maybe someone else was doing it. He's left the Shinsengumi. Surely he wouldn't risk coming back just to tend to me when I was sick. No, he was probably reporting back here with some news and just happened to be able to come see you. It wasn't until much later that I learned Saito had been there that night to deliver his report on Ito to Hijikata. Yeah, that's what I figured. Oh, I kind of feel like there should have been a few more words on that, but no, that's cool. It just put things in the right place. And then we got to be happy to see him again later when he was back in his position permanently. Alright, so next episode should be Memories of Love 4 and 5 with him. So, hope to see you there or in some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.